Well, our next guest 1 year ago on our show predicted and told the world exactly what was about to happen. A fake alien invasion, massive amounts of drones or alien craft or something were going to be presented to the United States, and we were meant to then go into a panic mode. That was 1 year ago. In fact, watch this. What do they want in this situation where they would want to start taking down aircraft? What do you know from your experience in the FBI that they act this deep state? What do they want?
The end goal is, and this is a long-term psychological operation, as well as physical operation as well. The long-term goal is ultimately to put together this grand operation called fake alien invasion. Now, the only the only fake part about it is going to be that the alien visitors are involved with this. They're not. They're not at all. Um, Everything else is going to be real. The destruction that they bring to our cities is going to be real.
Well, John DeSouza is back, former FBI agent who was really in charge of what became known as the X-Files, more famously when he worked at the FBI, and he's been warning us about this deep state program for a long time, and he's back. John, great to see you. I mean, hate to say, do you feel vindicated? You were saying, and I think it's interesting when that interview posted, people were like, this is crazy. And now we're seeing it. It's not so crazy anymore, is it?
No, no, Clayton, and thank you for having me on again. This is a great privilege for me to be back with your audience that are people who are extremely sophisticated in these areas, and that's always a breath of fresh air because we always speak to people all across the country, and so many of them are asleep, and they're just like, "Oh, there's drones up. What's happening now? What's going on?"
Right.
So it's really good to be here with you, and I'm very relieved. Yes, it's great to see all of my predictions from my book, The Extra Dimensional, see it all come to fruition and see it all come true. But it's also very very sad at the same time because we're headed to a, a mass casualty event is what we're heading to, and so
A mass
that's
casualty event. So you
yeah.
believe that we just saw, we saw this morning, New Jersey has now banned drones over the airspace. That just happened just a short time ago. So they're trying to lock down the airspace. I can't believe it took them that long to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but you believe we're heading for some sort of a large scale destruction event. Can you elaborate on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to say good luck to New Jersey in closing their their airspace to these. I'm calling them LSDs, large super weapon drones. That's that's a perfect name for them, large super weapon drones, because it immediately states what these things are and how powerful they are, and that they are weapons. They are absolutely weapons, and the federal government that's there right now has no excuse for not treating them like weapons. So I think everyone should start calling them LSDs as well. That might help the situation somewhat. So, like I said, I don't I don't think New Jersey is going to be able to keep them out of the airspace because of their qualities, their abilities. We've had jets try to track them down. They have the ability to put out electromagnetic pulse to deactivate any drones or even airplanes that go against them. Uh, they have the ability to disappear at 3,000 miles an hour. It's incredible the abilities that these things have. So I don't
And these are deep
really.
state program. I mean, is it your contention that these are an off the books deep state program of advanced aerospace technology that the United States government has and is deploying, or
No,
so when
no,
no,
no. It's not. It's not the United States at all. The United States, the Biden administration is obeying the people who are sending these drones. They are by standing down our forces. they had to actively tell the military to stand down no matter what they see in the skies and not shoot at these things. So the United States is implicated in this, of course, but it's not them as the source of the drones or the plasmas and the orbs that are accompanying these drones either. So there's just a tremendous amount is involved in this. But I really wanted to start by telling you, Clayton, all the prophecies and predictions that have led us to this point right now, because the people have to be educated on what is going on exactly, so that they can know how to respond. They can believe. They can believe also. So I wanted to tell you guys, first of all, that we had a prediction from Cliff High, and it's called the Alien Invasion Prediction, and it went like this. I'm sure your audience knows about this, little bits here and there, but I want to tell them the
Yeah, our
the
audience is
details.
smart. Yeah,
Right,
our audience
right,
is smart. They, like as you mentioned earlier, they are awakened. I would say maybe 80% of our audience is awake. And so
exactly.
to the 20% of you, there maybe are still fighting this. Okay, buckle up.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Well, the first prediction was from Cliff High. It's called the Alien Invasion Prediction. In 2009, he used his WebBot software to predict that that a president, uh, Donald Trump, would eventually have an interview with Joe Rogan on, and that this would occur as a starting point for a countdown when it did occur. And it did occur. And at the time he made this prediction, Joe Rogan was not even very famous at that time. And President
What year
Trump,
was this again?
this was in
2000.
2009. 2009. So this was President Trump was not even anywhere near office at that time. Uh, so it's an extraordinary prediction because it was in 2009, and he said that the moment that interview happened, and how he knew that interview would be important, nobody knows. But through the WebBot software is how he finds these things out, and he found out that in December, and he said 39 days after the trigger event, which was the interview, there would be on December 3rd, there would be UFO wars in the sky. There would be UFOs and wars in the sky. Now, he does not predict events. He predicts what people will be saying about the events. And
So
that was
chatter, sort of online
exactly,
forums and chatter, and
yeah,
that's how his WebBot
yes.
software was working.
Yes, and it crawls all these things, and it sucks up the predictions from the language that people use, because his contention is that people are all intuitive, much more than they know, and they're already saying what's going to happen in the future without even knowing it. And it worked. It worked because he had 39 days after that interview was December 3rd, just a little while ago. So he missed it by like a couple of weeks. I don't think anybody has any qualms with that. But
Right.
uh, but it still started shortly after December 3rd, 2024. So that was an extraordinary prediction, and that's just the first one that relates to this. Now, also, I wanted to say to you guys that in the Bible, in Thessalonians, we have a prediction, an unfulfilled prophecy that says that God shall send upon them uh, a strong delusion, so that they should believe a lie. And we had no less a personage than the great Chuck Missler, who was one of the greatest Christian scholars who ever lived. And he always said that passage had to do with a staged alien event. So that was his feeling, and I always followed
Do
him
you
on
think
that.
that that's what this is right now? This is this that we're seeing. Is it the large scale staged alien event? I mean, we have people all over the country seeing
Yeah,
these things.
exactly.
Videos being shared every night that these are not airplanes, and some
Right,
are airplanes, right?
right,
But some are. You're
right.
seeing these massive drones that are accelerating
Exactly.
at speeds we don't have anything that can do that. Physics, wise,
Exactly.
it would tear apart a human being if they were inside a craft like that. Do you believe
Exactly.
that this is the event?
Yes, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, that goes into the next prediction that I wanted to talk to people about, which is the Werner von Braun, who was the head of NASA. He was the head of NASA. I think he was the first one way back in the 40s. But when in the 1970s, he died in 1977, but in the 1970s, before he predicted that the world elites, the cabal, they would need to have several worldwide conflicts to control the nations. He said the first one. That he wanted to put into this prediction was the fight of communism against the free world, communism against the free world, and that would be a worldwide conflict. He was talking about the Cold War that came later. Then he also said there would also be, then when that peters out, there would be a war between the Islamic world and the Western world, and that came true in the war on terrorism. Okay, but then he said his prediction that is called the last card prediction. It used to be called the last Trump card, but he said that the world powers, the cabal, the Illuminati who control all the nations, he said their last card, when their backs are up against the wall and they don't know what else to do, would be a staged alien invasion. That's how he put it. In 1970s, he told his protege, Carol Rawson, that this would occur. And it was said it would be a fake UFO threat from outer space. He said it would be then a buildup of military forces, the what do you call this? The global weapons complex that we have, military industrial complex that we have, would take this wonderful excuse to build up their weaponry all over the world, and then the staged alien false flag event would occur, and that's what he predicted. And he said this would be used to unify the entire world behind the the elites, behind the cabal that's working on this, and
Well,
that's
we know that they want a
unfortunate.
one world government, so this is not a conspiracy theory at all. Just
Right,
look at the documents, the
right,
2030 agenda. Look at the World Economic
exactly,
Forum's documents. This is not a conspiracy theory. They put it in their own documents, and they outline in their own documents that it needs a massive event, a Pearl Harbor style event, in order to be enacted. So this isn't, again, conspiracy. It's in their freaking documents.
right.
I know there are people out there who say, that's just conspiracy theories. As we say on this show, conspiracy theories are just 6 month spoiler alerts. And we've seen that repeatedly now. So, as a mass casualty event, I want to kind of circle back to something you said at the beginning. Where does that come into play? Is it being used as sort of a catalyst? Or who is going to carry out a mass casualty event in your estimation? What do you think that will look like?
Well, it could be what we call a slow kill situation, a slow kill, which really means it would be mass casualty events stretched out over long periods of time. So, because that, as we found out, during the, I'm trying to be careful how I say things, uh, as we found out during the last pandemic, uh,
Yeah,
there they found out that if you if you kill people slowly on in large scales, then for the most part, people don't notice it. They don't
right.
notice it, and they have many industries helping them, like the medical industry and others, helping them to put up excuses that, oh no, this isn't because of this particular purpose. It's because of something else. So they learned all of this. So for that reason, this mass casualty event that I'm talking about may not be an all at once type event that will be super dramatic so that everyone will be able to say, hey, wait, look at that. What happened? What if it's a slow kill situation where they use what we call radiation dirty radiation type bombs to slowly spread this radiation. And this is a good opportunity to tell people how I get my information and the necessity of corroborating my information with a lot of different sources. And I am involved in a network of many former, and current officials in the national security structure, the intelligence structure which means various different agencies, not just the FBI, but many other various agencies. And what we do is we share rumors. We share rumors and raw data. People who have not been in the intelligence structure don't know that a simple rumor can save many people's lives if it is correctly placed and correctly given to someone. And that we've seen that many times. Because when you're not getting real official information that has any value at all, like right now, then all you have is basically rumors and raw data. And you have to be able to place that and reinforce that, and then take those rumors and corroborate them with many other sources. That's how we share information, because that way we can never get in any trouble for sharing, top secret information from files and things like that. We can never be accused of that. And that's because that's all that we share. So in that vein, I wanted to tell you the last series of predictions, which come from my book, The Extra Dimensionals. And I can tell you right here. For instance, one of my predictions was that we would change calling UFOs to calling them plasmas.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Over the past 40, that's crazy, because over the past few days, that's what we're now seeing. They're starting to call them plasmas.
Right. And
holy smokes.
And
chills.
When I wrote about that, what I did was I said, okay, we need to start calling. I gave the examples throughout my book of why we need to start calling these things plasmas, because I gave the examples of many UFOs that I have directly observed, and also that many other famous cases, corroborated cases, have observed. And one of the things that I noticed was that the genuine UFOs, when they show up, they're supposedly they're in these metallic type discs, but in these real cases, you could barely even see any of the metallic quality, because these things were so filled with light. It was a light that had a special quality to it, sort of like gaseous type light, and converting to different forms of energy. And you could barely see the metallic ship underneath all this light. And that was one of the things that really lit up the light bulb for me, that okay, we need to call these things something else. But here's what I did, and the reason that I it's very important to talk about this is because apparently the cabal read my stuff about read the Extra Dimensionals, about the genuine plasmas, the genuine UFOs, because what they did was, one of the things they did was they copied all the qualities of real orbs and plasmas, and now they're creating their own copies of the real UFOs, the real plasmas. And that's what they're doing. When I wrote about that we need to start calling these things plasmas, I actually gave a lot of information, apparently, to the cabal about this. I called the replacement for UFOs, I called them plasmas, and I gave it an acronym as well. I said these are going to be paranormal, living aura reading, soul printing, mobile aerial scanners. All of that's a lot of information about these things. In other words, I believe that the genuine UFOs are actually alive. They are conscious. They have no one inside. They are accompanying alien visitors, kind of like as familiars and carrying out small tasks for them here and there. And some of the tasks are these things: soul printing, aura reading, the ability to record, collect a blueprint of a human soul for later reference, things like that. So apparently, I gave them a lot of information that they now used to duplicate these things, and so that's part of the predictions. But of course, the main part of my book, The Extra Dimensionals, is the central thesis is, of course, that alien visitors and UFOs are not physical. They are not physical, and that leads directly into the notion that if someone tells you, "Oh, we have these physical UFOs that are real UFOs," they just showed up on the White House lawn and they're just hanging out there. Well, it's a lie because why? Because alien visitors and UFOs are not physical. They can maintain physicality for short periods of time. That they can, for very short periods of time. We saw that in the Miami Mall incident from, I think it was like 2 years ago. It's like 2 years ago, where we saw these alien creatures come through this portal, and then they went throughout the mall in Miami and created hysteria and fear and people shooting at them, and it was crazy. But then some of them actually walked outside the mall. They were observed by law enforcement, and but then they disappeared because they can't hold that physicality for very long. So whenever, so go ahead, Clayton.
No, no, go ahead. I just was thinking about this mass casualty event and how this is being used by, by whom. So you said it's not the United States. It's not the Pentagon. It's this. Is it this sort of global cabal in coordination with something that we simply just don't understand, that's trying to carry this out in order to put in place some sort of a martial law, some sort of a,
Yeah,
some sort of a one world government. We know that if the
yeah,
president of the United States is removed, or if there's some sort of an invasion into the United States, the president of the United States is pushed aside in favor of NORAD. The head of NORAD becomes basically the de facto
oh,
United States president under the continuity of government, right? So,
yeah,
that's well established, right? So, if there is an invasion, national security threat, the president of the United States is pushed aside in favor of NORAD. Um, is that what we're seeing here? I know it seems so crazy to be talking about this, but here we are.
absolutely. And that is where we are. Um, we're in a situation where they are they are working with the cabal, and one of the great goals for the cabal is to try to stop the inauguration of Donald Trump. They they feel very strongly about that, and
Right.
that's what they want to do, and that's why we're seeing all of these drones. And I would like for people to look at a map, because we're all asking these questions. Why? Um, I would like people to look at a map of the East Coast, uh, which I've been staring at for quite a while, and just the upper half of the East Coast, and just look at it in relation to New Jersey. What we know about New Jersey is that it has been a saturation point. These drones and these orbs and the plasmas are showing up all over the world, not just in the United States, but in all the major states and all over the world too. This is a global operation. All right. Even Werner von Braun didn't predict the scope of this operation, uh, but it's global. But there seems to be a saturation point in New Jersey for some reason, and if you want to see why, uh, go look at that map of the East Coast, the upper half of the East Coast, and you will see that New Jersey is central to many other states that are controlled by the cabal, and that also have gun control, that will not be shooting, that will probably not be shooting at these drones. That's one of their major concerns. If you saw the
So
spokes,
the areas of these states, you're not allowed to have weapons, basically,
pretty
right? So that's the
much,
point. Yeah.
pretty much, officially, you're not supposed to have weapons in New Jersey and in the surrounding states. And guess where those surrounding states, where they end on the bottom, is in Washington, D.C. Okay, and I believe that Washington D.C. is the ultimate target. And what they're doing is, if you look at that map, it shows that this is a war action that is being taken, because what they have done is they have chosen as the major saturation point for these drones, for these plasmas and these orbs. They have chosen New Jersey, which is going to be central to all these states they control, including Washington, D.C., which is not a state, I know, but it's at the bottom of this group of states. And what they have done is they have established a beachhead in New Jersey for them to jump off operations into the surrounding states, including when they're ready to saturate Washington, D.C. They've already had several drones and so forth, because I believe that Washington, D.C. is the ultimate goal for them, and that they very possibly they may be looking for a way to destroy Washington, D.C. And that's what we're looking at right now. And it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous time that we're in right now, because
Why? It's very dangerous. Why are the United States? Why is the United States? Or are we not hearing about it? Like scrambling jets and trying to shoot these down. And are we? I haven't really seen too much interaction at all. I've seen just a
right,
brief. So
right.
why is this not happening?
If you want to see the answer to that, you just have to look to the statement by the Biden administration spokesman the other day. I think it was yesterday, possibly.
Oh, was
Where
it Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security statement,
not
or
Mayorkas,
not
the
Mayorkas?
other guy. Mayorkas is just an idiot. Nobody really
Yeah,
listens.
Anthony
This
Blinken, or yeah,
No,
I don't know.
this was the former Navy admiral, who's a spokesman for the Biden
Oh,
administration.
John Kirby. John Kirby. Yeah.
Correct, correct. And he came out with the most insane statement we've ever heard from a politician. He said, we have very carefully examined this. We have looked at it very carefully, and our assessment is that these drones are fully legal and lawful.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said,
That's it. That's all he said. So, and he had like fear in his eyes, because it's obvious that the main thing he was concerned about is people shooting at these drones. So he was basically saying, if you shoot at these drones, you're going to be arrested. That's what he was getting to. That's the point that he was trying to get across. And the reason why, this is a double trick also. The reason why I don't think these drones can be shot down. But the problem is, in case somebody does shoot them down. I think he's concerned about a lot of radiation being released from these drones before they're ready to do that. Okay? He doesn't want these drones to be interfered with because I believe they carry a lot of radiation somehow. We don't even know what their power source is. These drones, their power source could be some kind of fusion for all we know, a fusion reactor of some type, uh, because they don't make noise and they have tremendous special abilities. So I think that's what he's really afraid of, because they don't want any of these drones to release their radiation prematurely before they're ready to get it done. So you see, that's part of the reason I'm talking about this mass casualty event that may not be dramatic, one shot type event. It may be stretched out over long periods. We have right now, we have the administration is, instead of protecting the American people, which is not what they're doing at all, instead of doing that, they are planting stories. They are planting stories like the stories I heard you reading on the show the other day. We have a nuclear waste material went missing in New Jersey around December 2nd, 2024, and was reported to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and Nuclear Regulatory Commission. The shipping container carrying the material was found damaged and empty. So all of this radioactive material is out there somewhere, and we need to find out what. And then there's another story that's being retread from the intelligence community. It goes around every couple of years, but now it's going around again. It's the mystery concerning the missing nuclear warheads since 1991 in Ukraine. Over 80 nuclear warheads are supposedly have mysteriously vanished. And in 2020, we have had no further developments with these. Nobody knows where they are. This rolls into the story of the suitcase nukes as well that are missing. So the question is, why are they retreading all these stories now? People in your audience have probably been hearing these stories for years now, but now they decided to retread them all. And at the same time, as we know that they're planting all these stories that the drones are doing things for our good, they're out there and they're actually sniffing for nuclear type weapons that have been planted around the East Coast. Why would they be? And here's how we know that's not true. Because we in the intelligence community, we have many WMD teams at the Energy Department of Energy, at the FBI, at many other intelligence agencies. They are actual fly teams that have the constitutional responsibility to anywhere that there's a weapon of mass destruction possibility. They have to go there and grab those things. And none of these teams have been activated. None of them. So how could that be?
So they know
possible?
it's a lie. Like it's a whole fake story.
Of course, it has to be a lie, because we have seen these teams in action before when there have been actual and they travel with blacked out helicopters on the whisper mode that are completely silent. They travel in at night, but they only use cavalry, air cavalry helicopters, and they use them. They fast rope troops in, special weapons teams. They fast rope them in. Then they go and they get the nuclear radiological device, and they get it. They bring it in a stretcher. They bring it out to the helicopter, and then they get out. And they are ruthless. They are ruthless in doing their duties. And none of these teams have been activated. So how could it be? All of these stories are absolute lies. And it actually adds to the problem of how much can these drones do? I'm sorry, these LSDs. I want people to start calling them LSDs. Large super weapon drones. That's what they really are. And they have many, many abilities. We just had the New Jersey Governor, Phil Murphy, just said this. How could these? How did we start looking at these drones? And it's like they know we're looking at them, and all their lights shut off, and then they disappear because we're looking at them. He said, how is that possible? It's almost like they're alive or conscious in some way. It's like it's not even, and yet we know.
Well, that's being reported in multiple sightings over the past couple of weeks. People interacting with them. One video has gone viral of a woman talking to one of them floating in the sky, and she mentions Jesus Christ. Have you seen this video? And it starts flickering back at her, and she says, "Oh, you know, it's unbelievable." So,
and that was very interesting sighting, because what the woman missed is that if the this was a plasma orb. It was a plasma orb, and if the orb was upset at the name of Jesus Christ, or the orb loved the name of Jesus Christ, it would give off the exact same signals. It would start terrible oscillating. So she doesn't really know whether that orb liked what she said or whether it hated what she said, because it's the same exact. It's the reason that polygraphs don't work. They really don't. All they do is just gauge emotional reaction, but they don't gauge whether someone is telling the truth or not. They just gauge if someone is uncomfortable with a topic. That's it. And you could be uncomfortable with a topic because you hate it or because you love it. So it's the same thing that we experienced with this lady who observed this thing. There was another video of, and I'm trying to put out as much information as I can. There was another video of a person in New Jersey. I don't know how they got this in New Jersey, but they were shooting at one of the drones. It was one of the typical LSDs, the large super weapon drones. And he was shooting at it with tracer rounds, which for people who know are just large caliber bullets, very large caliber bullets that have an incendiary on them so that they light up as they're hitting, so you can see if they hit the target. And this person shot many tracer rounds at this drone, and it looked like most of them missed, but a few of them seemed to connect. But what I saw is that there was this super weapon drone had some kind of shielding, because when the tracer rounds connected, all I saw was a spark, like there was an invisible shield there, and the LSD took no damage. It just sailed there. It took the bullets. The bullets seemed to be blocked somehow, and then it just kept sailing off on its own. So these drones really are super weapons, and they are incredibly powerful, and that's before you even get into the plasmas and the orbs that are accompanying them everywhere that they go. So that's where we are with this. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what's going on. And I really liked that 4chan post that you put on from 2022, which was the one that explained exactly what's going to be going on with these drones in 2022. And they actually said these will be radiological attacks. So not necessarily, could be nukes, could be dirty bombs, radiological attacks, and they will go into permanent lockdowns. What does this remind you of? Permanent lockdowns and medical restrictions that will be obeyed by people. Imagine instead of having to wear a mask, you have to wear an astronaut suit. One of those level 5 level 5
hazmat suits. Oh my God, that's what's coming.
And that prediction on 4chan post also said the mainstream media will do the heavy lifting on spreading fear, so that people will say, "Oh yeah, I'll wear the hazmat suit to go out to the supermarket during the lockdown. It's no problem. I have to do it as part of my duty."
Will it be real? I mean, that's the point. Like with COVID, you didn't have to, like, the mask was a sham, of course, right? So will it be real? The media, of course, will push this, and they already are. They're doing their heavy lifting on this. If I don't wear a hazmat suit and I say "F you," I'm not wearing this garbage.
Yeah.
Will I be irradiated?
Yeah, and they will, and yeah, because the radiation is going to be real. The aliens are not. The aliens are not real, but everything else, the danger, the destruction, the radiation, and like that post actually said that the MSM, the mainstream media, will show people with radiation burns on their bodies, and they will
On the
show
news.
people on the news, and they will say, "Look at this. This is why you have to obey the lockdown." And you have to wear the hazmat suit even to go down to the corner grocery store. And people will obey. People will obey. We saw it during the pandemic. People will obey crazy things when you pump them with enough fear. And that's where we are right now. Another person that made these predictions that I wanted to just point out was Dr. Stephen Greer, because again, I always have to take my information and corroborate with many, many, many sources. And Stephen Greer actually said this, what's going on right now, has been a 75-year strategic plan from the cabal. From the cabal. I'm not sure if he uses the word cabal or something else, but from the cabal unfurling before our eyes right now. And Stephen Greer said these vehicles, they're not from the United States. But if they were, the United States would be using them against other nations, which is absolutely true. We would be. They're only lent to us for a very short period. That's where we are, and so I really respect that Stephen Greer made that prediction, and he's always stuck to it too. He's always stuck to it.
Yeah.
That this, and he called it, but he didn't call it false alien
False flag.
invasion. He called it false disclosure, and a false flag. Yes, and so that's where we are. We have so many people predicting the same things. People have to look.
Well,
at
I
this.
spoke to a source in September who told me that he was read into a specific program, and he gave me the dates when this would happen, that there would be a fake alien invasion. He told me in September. And he told me the dates that would follow the election. I reported that on the show. This is not new information. I reported that multiple times on the show. And he said that after the election, in the weeks after the election, there would be a fake alien invasion. We have the dates, and he was read into the program. And I reported that at the time. And here we are. And you, on our show a year ago, said this was going to happen. And here we are. So
yes. And let me anticipate one of your questions that I'm pretty sure I will get at some point, which is who made the LSDs? Who made the orbs and the plasmas that they're doing? And I can give you that answer because this has been corroborated from several people, not just Greer, but also Congress people as well. And what the people who made these orbs, these LSDs, these plasmas, are basically Skunk Works, McDonnell Douglas, DARPA, Raytheon. They basically copied how to make plasmas and orbs, and they created them. They created them, and these are
from alien technology, from
reverse
alien
engineered,
reverse engineered craft
Yes.
that they have recovered because we have a crash retrieval program, which has now been confirmed by Congress.
Exactly. And so they are but what I want you to know is that these are not American organizations or American companies. People think that they are, but they're not. They work directly for the cabal, and they are providing services to the cabal. That's what they're doing. They're not doing it for the United States, because if they were, the United States would be using these vehicles against our enemies.
I can confirm what John is saying here from multiple whistleblowers and sources that I've spoken to who have been involved and witnessed these craft, who were in parts of the United States military, but they were treated like garbage. I mean, they were United States military whistleblowers that I've spoken to who've seen these craft, who've worked on these projects. told me that they were treated like garbage by the sort of cabal that was really in charge. It wasn't the U.S. military. I mean,
Mhm.
we think like the U.S. military was up here. No, no, no. They were like really low on the ladder, and that's been confirmed to us here on the show as well.
That sounds
Well, John,
right. That sounds absolutely right. But
so I'll get you out of here on
here's
this, John. I mean, what do we do next? What do we? I mean, what do we? How can we stop this? I mean, how can we prepare for this? I mean, this is happening before our eyes. I just don't see this disappearing. I don't see this like going away
oh
unless
no.
we can have a mass awareness event where we can all call attention to this and call BS on this.
Oh, absolutely. And here's a question that I see you give. You're always interested in motivations. So you always say why?
Why?
Why is
Right.
the deep state cabal doing this? What is the reason? Okay. And one of the things I have is that I'm a big movie buff, and I find that sometimes it's easier to illustrate things to people, especially with movies that everyone has seen. And now here's where we are. There was a movie called Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones. All right. It was in 2002. And the whole point of the movie was to show how Senator Palpatine, who is trying to become the emperor, how Senator Palpatine has been developing a giant army of clones, and supposedly he's developing them to serve the Republic. Now, there's a scene in there where he actually decides to reveal his army to someone, and they thought it would be, 1,000, 2,000. He shows that he has 100,000 of these clones, and then he says, and they all serve me personally, and that's why I'm going to be the emperor now. Senator Palpatine, interestingly, he looks just like George Soros, and it's very predictive. It's a very predictive model, because then he says, and when I have clones, which sounds very much like drones, when I have all these clones, they do not have free will. They will obey my orders. They will obey my orders. They will commit any war crime uh, without a thought, because they will follow my orders. They don't really have free will. They are clones. And that's kind of the same thing with the drones as well. The cabal has finally come up with a way to be able to use these drones that have no free will. They will follow any order, and they will do anything that they can. And so we are in the moment where the cabal is declaring, "Look at my army. This is my army I have, and I'm going to use this army against you." That's where we are. That's what we're trying to go. And they're going to use it to try to stop DJ Donald Trump from
Trump.
being inaugurated. That is the big why, of why they are doing this. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. And
Yeah, I mean, they clearly don't want him in power for what money he's going to be taking out of their pockets, a multi-billion-dollar industry that he'll be taking out of their pockets. They've tried to assassinate him. I don't think it's all about Trump, of course, but I think it's
yeah,
definitely a part. This massive cabal, the Agenda 2030, all of these big pieces that he threw a total wrench into the works by being elected once again.
another another individual that has confirmed many of the things that I've been working on is a person named Gordon Chang. He's a CCP dissident. He's an expert in U.S.-China relations, and he's just a brilliant guy. And as of yesterday, he's been putting out a lot of articles and uh, a lot of different publications. And what he said is, we have to look at the common patterns with what just happened, the spy balloon crisis, where the Biden government followed the same protocols that they're following right now. And this was definitely from China. And then Gordon Chan tends to see all cabal activities as being from China. That's just how he is. He's a big commentator in a lot of conservative think tanks. But
Yeah,
what's
I've interviewed
really
him many times back on my days on
oh
Fox News. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, he's terrific. But one of the ways that he surprised us in these last few days is that he said he didn't say these drones, these orbs, these plasmas are from China. He said, which what we all thought he was going to say, he said this is from a collection of America's enemies all working together to do this. Basically, it was just another name for the cabal, and that's what he's saying. Is so that was very surprising to me.
Mm.
He's a great thinker, and people should see him. Also, another person that I have seen, I saw yesterday, who's just another brilliant person, is while most scientists are trying to muddy the waters, the majority of scientists just will say whatever their sponsors tell them to say. But I saw this one great scientist yesterday named Ashton Forbes. He's a plasma technology expert. Have you spoken to him before? Have you had him on the show? But
Yeah, we've done a deep dive with Ashton here on the show on
okay,
MH370, and actually we have a big interview with him coming up in
good,
just about a
good,
week or so on a
good,
lot of these plasma technologies and
good.
zero point energy technology. He's a good friend of
Yes.
the show. Yeah.
Excellent, because the shocker that he said yesterday, he was on Next News Network yesterday, and the shocker that he gave us was he said, "Oh yeah, our intelligence tech community has been able to create plasmas and orbs for years now. For years now, those plasmas and orbs are definitely created by our military-industrial complex tech division." And he says, that's absolutely true. And that's a shocker to hear a scientist that you can trust. And that was instead of, while all the other scientists are trying to get us to say this ridiculous word plasmoid, which is
Mm.
absolutely ridiculous. Plasmoid doesn't mean it means natural phenomena like ball lightning.
Right.
That's not what these
A
things
distraction.
are. It's a complete distraction, and it's a confusion of the language. They're using MSM to also amplify that, and they're trying to get people to say plasmoid. Well, I want people to say LSDs, large super weapon drones. That's what they should be saying, and plasmas and orbs, because that's what we're facing. So that's Ashton Forbes had a great little piece of this puzzle, and it was great that he actually put that forward. So yeah, and so just to tell, I can tell you what your question was. What are the remedies and measures we can go to right now? And I'll tell you. Number one, stay away, because we're right now in life saving mode. We're just trying to save as many people as we can. Um, Number one, stay away from these LSDs, the large super weapon drones. No shooting at them, because you could release radiological materials if you shoot at them. It's possible. That's why they're very concerned about that. Stay away from them. I have a lot of people who are now observing the drones with military night vision hardware, and that's fine because they see a lot of them and they're going nuts in the air, but they're very far away. If these LSDs come over your house, though, get away. Get away from them, because we're going to be seeing people. We already have people who have symptoms of radiation sickness who
We
have
do?
observed. Yes, yes, they're out there. It's just anecdotal, but they are out there. And they have said they have symptoms of radiation type sickness, and not the severe ones, but they have the mild ones. And so that is happening. And so stay away from the LSDs. Number one. Number two, also stay away from the plasmas and orbs, because they are also man-made, and they could be making people disappear sometime soon. Also, the plasmas and orbs appear to have shape-shifting abilities too, so that they can change into fixed. It looks like fixed wing aircraft. It looks like they can change into UAP type vehicles as well. So just be aware of all that too. Also, number three, I would probably skip the inauguration at Washington D.C. of Donald Trump, even if the tickets are free. I got a lot of people telling me, "Hey, the tickets are free. We're gonna." No,
Yeah.
don't go.
No,
Just
I
don't
know. I've
go.
been invited as well. I'm like, well, Yeah, it's kind of
Don't,
terrifying. I mean,
don't,
I'd love to be there. I'd
don't.
love to see it, but
No, no, don't do it. And
don't give in to.
yeah, and number four, of course, don't listen to anything the U.S. government tells you when they start telling you shelter in place. We have lockdowns now. Wear that astronaut suit. It's for your own good. Instead of just a mask. Uh, just don't listen to anything the government says right now. And we have to keep listening to Donald Trump to see what he says. He's being very, very limited on this. He's very limited. I mean, so far he's only said like 2 sentences about this, and it was just basically to basically command the Biden administration to say something to the people, because he said, "You guys know what these things are. You're refusing to tell anybody. You have to say something." And they did. That's when they came out with that statement.
Yeah.
From what's his face?
That nothing burger, John Kirby's nothing burger statement. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I think we should do, Clayton. Yeah. And I think you should not go to the inauguration. I'm sorry. Just don't do it. I honestly don't think Donald Trump is going to the inauguration either. I think he's going to have an alternate site set up and ready, and he's going to do whatever he has to do there instead. Because I don't think they're going to be able to save Washington, D.C. at this point. I just don't think so.
What is happening in this world? I mean, my God. Unbelievable.
It's
John, I know. It's so hard to even wrap my head around it. I'm going to go, after the show, have a conversation with my family and be like, you're not going to believe what I just, the conversation I just had. But like I said, you were right last year when you said this would happen, and here we are, and you've written all about it. And now and multiple other people had also predicted, and I had dates certain when this would actually happen, and they nailed it to the letter. So, conspiracy theories be damned. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is actually happening.
Yeah, because the last thing we need to do is we need to continue to do the motto of what is called expose, defeat, deter. Expose, defeat, deter. In other words, we have to keep talking about this. We have to keep telling each other, no matter if we get ridiculed, no matter if the New York Times says that we're idiots or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Or CNN comes after us. It doesn't matter. We have to keep on exposing this so that can be a part of the solution ultimately. So that's what we're looking at, Clayton. That's part of it. But I have more if I get a chance to tell you later.
Well, this is a lot for us to swallow today, John. So let us digest this, and we'll be this next month is going to be one of the craziest periods I think in American history, up until whatever happens with Trump on the 20th. So we'll be watching it closely, John. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on this. Thanks for sharing your sources on this and all this information as always. John DeSouza, everyone. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks so much, Clayton. Great being with you and with your audience.